there's a lot brighter minds out there, and especially in terms of delegation and using things like Upwork and Fiverr and all those guys to do all the tasks that will, take, say you want to produce a new PDF. Anybody's not trying to do one from scratch and they've never done it before, 3 or 4 day process perhaps. Log into Fiverr, hire somebody, 30, 40 bucks, you get it back. I've got a lady in Hungary, does mine in she's back in about 2 hours, 30 bucks, so, and we were talking about that with, on a call a couple of weeks ago with people was, 50 quid, 100 or 50 bucks, 100 bucks is money well spent for a bookkeeper to come in 3 or 4 hours a week. And everybody every time you talk to somebody, they're like, I've got so much paperwork to do. It's a nightmare.
One of the business lessons I learned years ago is successful people spend money to save time. The only resource that is limited is your time. Everything else you can outsource. So successful people spend money to save time. And I put that on my beautiful wife Helen when she says you should be mowing the lawn. Oh, darling, look, I'm not going to get that's not worth my time. I could do something else. But you're sitting on your ass in the lounge. Why aren't you doing it? Well, I'll get someone to do it. That's not worth my time to do it.
This is the Justin Blake podcast experience for health professionals that mean business. So wherever you are in the world, listen as we discuss everything you need for you and your health business to survive and thrive. Thanks for listening.
Charlie, hello, we're here. Good afternoon, everybody. Well, sorry, we're just into the afternoon, and good evening. Paul Wright in Sydney. How's things, Righty? All right?
Mate, things are fantastic, mate. I'm loving the tech. I'm loving what you're doing, Blakey. You're all over this. I'm very impressed.
Yes. Well, of course, you've been all over this type of stuff for years, and your health business profits group and your physio professor. I mean, you've got a huge back catalogue of greatest hits. I mean, you're an old hand.
Yeah, it's funny. I did the last one. Justin was the one of the recent. You would have seen this. We did the ultimate social media pack. That was our program. Yeah. And those that know my stuff, I haven't been very big on social media. I don't do much Facebook and other things. And my daughter worked at the print shop that was doing one of these programs, and I printed up this manual that had ultimate social media. I'm on the cover, and she brings it back home, and she says, "Dad, you're a fraud." Said, "What do you mean, Dad? Huh? You don't do social media. You don't do Facebook. How can you possibly be doing this?" And so, but it's how you know. You've got to surround yourself with excellent people. You don't have to know how to do everything. That's what I've learned.
Well, I think that's probably one of the things you taught me was that, you need to, there's a lot brighter minds out there, and especially in terms of delegation and using things like Upwork and Fiverr and all those guys to do all the tasks that will, take, say you want to produce a new PDF. Anybody's not trying to do one from scratch and they've never done it before, 3 or 4 day process perhaps. Log into Fiverr, hire somebody, 30, 40 bucks, you get it back. I've got a lady in Hungary, does mine in she's back in about 2 hours, 30 bucks, so, and we were talking about that with, on a call a couple of weeks ago with people was, 50 quid, 100 or 50 bucks, 100 bucks is money well spent for a bookkeeper to come in 3 or 4 hours a week. And everybody every time you talk to somebody, they're like, I've got so much paperwork to do. It's a nightmare.
One of the business lessons I learned years ago is successful people spend money to save time. The only resource that is limited is your time. Everything else you can outsource. So successful people spend money to save time. And I put that on my beautiful wife Helen when she says you should be mowing the lawn. Oh, darling, look, I'm not going to get that's not worth my time. I could do something else. But you're sitting on your ass in the lounge. Why aren't you doing it? Well, I'll get someone to do it. That's not worth my time to do it.
It's just part of the creative process.
It is.
I've got a 17-year-old now. He loves it. He's due to get it done today because there was rain at the weekend and it's up about knee high. So Barney, if you're there watching, after the call, you can get the lawnmower cracking on with it.
So do I get an introduction, Justin, or we just chat? Okay, how's this work, mate? How's the
This
format?
is my friend and colleague. Well, if you'd been on Facebook this morning, Paul, you would have known I made the introduction as a long-term friend and business guru, Paul Wright. If anybody doesn't know Paul, and Paul is in just north of Sydney in Newcastle in New South Wales in Australia. I look back on my emails this morning and Righty, the first time I had a call with you like this was 2013, April 2013. So you've been a large part of my journey. Why am I looking in here? Because I'm looking at you. I need to swap you over, maybe. That's better. There we go. That's better. I had a very long and eventful and very fruitful journey with you. Paul was one of my main mentors for a number of years. And I
remember the number of times
tell everybody about yourself, Paul.
Well, we looked at the model, and I kept saying, mate, there's too many practices. They're too spread. Let's focus on one or two of them. You had practices everywhere. Yeah. So it was.
We did.
I did the same thing.
But I had practices that I didn't have to visit. One of my practices in County Kildare, I think I went once in 20 months, maybe once in 2 years. I didn't have to go. It ran itself. We had the systems in place, everything in place, plug and play. We'll talk about systems in a little bit and how you can achieve that. And you had the same. You had practices that you didn't have to consult in, and you didn't have to visit. Once you put the systems in place, it's a beautiful way to work. Beautiful way to work.
What we did learn over the years, and we're still learning now, you want to try and get maximum profits with the minimum number of team members. So, and as we all know, as experienced health business owners know, you get a group of health business owners together, or actually owners of any business together, and they're all going to complain about staff. It doesn't matter what business you're in, it's all going to be about people. And it's that unknown quantity. It's that unknown thing that you can't control people. You can control the best you can, but the more profit you can make with the less number of people.
Tell everybody the phrase.
Which one?
The fish stinks from the head down. Fish rots from the head down.
I stole that. That came from Michael Gerber. I read that. And originality is the art of concealing your source, Justin. You should know that. But Michael Gerber's classic.
No, it's changed now, Paul. You got to give it all away for free.
The fish stinks from the head down. I put that on Justin multiple times during our mentor sessions. He'd be whinging about something. He'd be saying that my staff member did this, my staff member did that. So hang on a second. Did you earn the right to chastise that staff member? Did you earn the right to move them on, to fire them, to blow them up, whatever you're doing to them? Or maybe I didn't train them well enough. Well, the fish stinks from the head down. Every problem you've got in your business is your fault.
All down to me.
And one of the best things you can do, guys, this is for businesses out there, one of the best things you can do is accept 100% responsibility for everything in your business. Because the moment you do that, you stop blaming everyone else. It's you. You hired this person. You hired that admin person. You didn't train them well enough. It's your fault. Accept it. And move on.
We've talked the last few weeks on some calls about one of my receptionist early days when I was, as I've talked about in the last number of weeks on calls, I ran businesses really, really badly for about 15 years. Hadn't a clue. And so Sarah, my receptionist in Streatham in London, and again, big shout out to Gavin Fain. Gavin's still fighting the good fight in the Liam practice in Streatham. Sarah was like a sergeant major on the phone. Hello, what do you want? Yes. Yeah. Jesus, it's frightening.
And whose fault was that?
I hadn't trained her.
Yeah. I remember one of my admin, one of my favourite admin team members, Gina. When she started with me, and I always had my treatment cubicle very close to the front desk because I knew that's where the money was. So I learnt that very early. Put yourself close to front desk. And I remember when she started, I'd keep hearing this laughter coming from front desk, and they were having fun with us. And I was sure she was talking to her friends. So my head would come out the door, and she'd, okay, Paul, yeah. And there'd be Mrs. Johnson on the phone. She'd be talking to clients. And it took me a while to realise that was just her. That was her style. And I think if I hadn't learned a little while ago, you employ based on people skills and you train everything else, that's one of the biggest lessons you can learn. You can train people to do what you want them to do. It's the people skills that are harder to train. So
yeah. I can't remember the last time I bothered looking past the name and the email address on the CV. Don't need to know any of that other crap that you've done so much training and you've got this and that and the qualification and stuff. That's a given. I want to know about you and what you can do and help. That's the main thing. I mean, everybody's got the qualification out in yin yang, and of course we'll get on to why this has been because there's been absolutely fantastic, and I'm sure it's been the same in Australia as well, and every other country here in Ireland, the UK. I've been on Zoom calls in the States and Australia with diabetic foot evenings and heel pain evenings and all sorts of like really interesting people giving experts in their field. There's been business talks and things, and the common thing seems to be that the diabetic foot evening is booked out.
Sounds like fun.
But the business evening is, half as full. And at my point is like, well, if you don't have and that's the unfortunate thing at the moment, there's practices I know, and sure you know as well, they're going to struggle to reopen in this situation. They're looking to offload. Now, some people have maybe pivoted, and I talked about in early March, now is the time to sort of possibly, reassess and reevaluate how you're working and whether you want to continue on. And, some people have pivoted out of that, and especially through the advent of, video calls as well. Some people have gone, 90%, 95% online. Others. The big opportunity,
just and we saw it when COVID started. I said to all my private clients, this is a golden opportunity.
That was you. I remember you had the picture of you with all the toilet rolls under your arm running out.
I'm saying it's not going to get any better than this. So whether it's raise your prices, whether it's change your hours, whether it's reposition yourself as the owner of the business and in charge of the business, it was a fresh slate.
Yeah,
Justin, and it still is. You still have the same opportunity right now to reinvent yourself.
And guess what? We're in the healthcare business. Oh, shit. Oh, we didn't remember. And you look out the window and everybody's out exercising. Everybody's out running. Everybody's out cycling because the media from the get has been, you need to get fitter and healthier and more to boost your immunity. Mm-hmm. So, I had to change my position of my laptop after a week because I was getting neck pain. People are out running. We're in the healthcare business. There's so much more opportunity now for healthcare problems and helping people with their healthcare. This golden age is coming. Yeah. Everybody get ready. But
I'm not sure where your audience is, but if you're we've got clients at the moment, like Australia was fortunate. Australia was fortunate because we didn't close, so our practices in Australia were able to stay open. But I know Ireland shut, UK shut, Canada shut. So there are variations across the board.
A girl in Queensland, and she said she was down 20-30% patients.
Yeah.
So there's a triple whammy now. People aren't going to come out, so you're going to be 20-30% down. Appointment times are going to be longer, so you're not going to be able to see as many people, and you've got the additional cost of your PPE and all that sort of stuff.
But some of our clients, even as the restrictions are easing a little bit in Australia, especially in Australia at the moment, a lot of my clients are busier than they were pre-COVID. So there'll be what we don't know though, we don't know what the new set point will be. Which means we don't know where it will level out. We don't know what will happen with doctor referrals. We don't know what will happen with sports clubs because they're still coming back. We're unsure what's going to happen with the 20% of elderly people who may not want to come out. So there's this level of uncertainty, but early signs are very positive from what we've seen so far.
My friend Jerry, and I was on the phone again to Jerry last night, just checking the figures. He's a partner in a large primary care centre, family practice in Clapham in South London. Great area. Jerry's a great GP, and he loves his new routine, which is telephone and Skype calls or online medical calls with patients. Really, really efficient. Really, really to the point. But the one issue is, I think they spent 12 million on the primary care centre about 4 or 5 years ago. They don't need half of it anymore. It's redundant now.
One tip for you guys, though, regarding telehealth, if you're still in it, and that was an opportunity to get involved in it and to learn it. I'm personally not as positive in what will happen as we move out of COVID, unless you've got a really good niche.
Yeah.
So if you become the foot expert for ballet dancers, for example, or a certain condition in a certain population, it's now a global market for you. That's a different animal. Whereas before you were local, telehealth can take you global, but you've got to have a really good niche. So work out what that is, and you'll do well on the back of that.
But even from the start, colleagues were like, well, especially the hands-on physical podiatrist, where I can't enucleate, I can't treat an ingrown, I can't. And it was like, well, this is the it should be like talking to your aunt, the conversation when she phoned you when she's on holiday in Australia and she's ended up with a blister or a twisted ankle, and you give her advice and you reassure her, and then you check in with her a couple of weeks later, like all our practices do, right? Keep in touch them. I mean, these people who cancelled appointments whenever the shutdown came, and then 6, 8, 10 weeks later, we've got telehealth, and wonder why nobody came. Or now are slowly opening back up again. And as you say, clinics that we know and who had all these systems and all these things in place and were proactive, they're booked out 3 or 4 weeks ahead now. And other people
get so caught up in the delivery method, Justin. They get caught up in how we deliver the service. But they've got to come to the realization the patient actually doesn't care how you fix them. They don't. And I think in one of my talks, I did the example that the patient doesn't care if you sit them in the corner and you stand up on the chair and sing God Save the Queen. They don't care what you do, provided it gives them the outcome. So for us to argue about telehealth compared to in-person consults, the patient really doesn't care as long as they get the outcome that they want.
It's just another treatment option.
Yep.
And and this is also the thing about people get hung up on their qualifications, and this is getting back to my point on the courses and things, and these clinics that unfortunately now have either pivoted or financially didn't have the business fundamentals in place to actually come out of this.
Yeah.
What's the point in doing another technical Maitland Manips, whatever rehab course, if you don't have a bloody practice to practice from afterwards, because you don't have a bloody business to run it from?
Yeah, I think one thing COVID did, Justin, and that they say in times of crisis, leaders are exposed, and they're either exposed. We've seen that in a lot of countries over the period of COVID, but you're either exposed positively or exposed negative. And it's the same with businesses. A lot of health businesses had their pants pulled down when COVID hit. They didn't have email lists. They didn't have contact details. They had no communication. I heard of businesses just lost the whole business essentially because they just didn't have a way to contact their patients or stay in touch with them. So they were exposed. And
when the tide goes out, you see who's swimming naked.
Yeah.
Swimming naked. You do a lot of swimming and life surfing and all sorts of things. I mean, that's what your gig is, right? Isn't it?
Well, I paddle surf skis, but I spend more time swimming than I do paddling the surf skis. So there's a idea about my skill level.
Because when I was on calls with Paul, it was Skype without video, and it was always Paul was in the morning having his coffee. I was in Ireland in the evenings, and I could hear the parakeets chirping in the background all the time. Oh, I could imagine, man, my mind was always right. He's sitting with his little budgie smugglers, ready to hit the surf after he's on the sport.
I'd probably just come back. I'd just come back from a paddle or something. It was pretty early. Going back there, keeping a serious note of this. One thing about your technical education, and I think we all made the mistake early, and you said it early. We employed on the CV, and then we realised that wasn't the trick here. You employ, and I found that with experienced therapists. The more and more interviews I did, as a young business owner, I'd employ therapists because their CV was incredible and they were busy. They couldn't fill their list. And it didn't make sense to me for a long time. Why is this person so technically good but can't fill their list? And then I'd get new graduates in and I'd give them the basics and they were just sponges for this information and they all of a sudden had a full list. How does the new grad outperform the 20-year veteran? And I saw it over and over again. And I worked out as you get more into business, the patients, for example, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
That's the one.
Don't care. They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. You can be a first-year grad having a crack, and they'll support you.
Because the guy outside sweeping the streets can fix my Achilles tendon. I'm going to see him.
Well, I don't know if I did that, but
in your interviews, you used to use the lovely Helen. I've never met. I think she's fictitious, but anyway, I just
didn't want her to meet you.
What?
I just didn't want her to meet you. That was all right. It was a different animal.
Yeah, you know what will happen. You used to get her to sit in on the second interviews, didn't you? She was
my beautiful wife Helen is she's the best reader of people. I'm not. I'm not the best person to interview or do the interviews because I'm very analytical and I used to, and I got to the stage where interviewing and recruitment was a pain in my ass. So I wanted to get it over quickly, which meant I made mistakes. So Helen would come to interviews with me and we'd sit there, and all my job was to do was to just get them talking. So I just got them talking, and then she would read them as a people reader. She'd say, well, they're a nice person. I think they'll do well. I just had to work out they had a qualification and they were okay. The number of times, mate, we'd sit in the interview and I'd get them talking, and I would give this guy a job without a problem because I was going to solve a problem for me. But 2 minutes interview, I'd get the tap on the leg, which indicates that was our speak for this person's a no-go. Gone.
Yeah, you're done, mate.
And I'm thinking, oh, no, I've got to keep looking. But he's not a good fit. He's not a good fit. And she would read them like nothing else. So try and get someone who's different to you in the recruitment if you can. The other tip for you, when I was doing interviews and recruitments, I would get the person to arrive at the interview, so they'd turn up.
Yep.
And I would be at the back somewhere, and I'd always prime the admin team, whoever's there. Can you just have a talk to Justin? He's coming for an interview. Can you have a talk to him before and just see what you think? Sit him down and just have a chat. Yep. So she would say, Paul, Justin's here. I'd come out and meet you. I'll just be a second, Justin. I'd go back into the back room where I could still hear front desk, and I'd just hear the conversation. So my admin team's job was to get them talking, have a chat, see what they were like. And the interview had already started for this person.
It also helped to put them at ease a little bit as well when they were coming into a strange environment.
Yeah, if the interview had started, it started the moment they walked through the door.
Well, that was it. I talk about, we were lucky enough to be able to take a lot of the students on placement in Galway from the Galway Podiatry College in the West University in the west of Ireland. Absolutely fantastic course. New graduates are just coming out again this year. Best of luck to everybody and everybody who's just qualified from the University of Ulster in Belfast, and new graduates there. I think these guys, when they came on placement, some of them didn't figure out it was like a 2-week interview.
Yeah, that was the response, weren't they?
Another clinic that I never visited, I would get feedback.
Yeah,
he's a good guy. He switched on. She knows what she's doing. That one there. No, I don't think so. Yeah.
All the best practice owners were in the unis. They were lecturing. It was a glorified recruitment. I know a lot of health professionals who ran courses for undergraduates specifically for that reason.
Yep.
To get details and contact details of applicants and make sure they had a good person in the queue and they're ready to go. The secret guys always be hiring. So if you're not hiring, always be looking, because you never know when you're going to need them.
I posted yesterday, it came up on the Facebook, you wouldn't know about that, Paul. It was like, you get these things about things that happened previously. It was 6 years ago, and it was a picture when I took pictures with guys we were at the Special Olympics in Limerick for the fitter feet part of the Special Olympics medical thing. And there's a picture of the guys there, and I think I employed 3 people out of two All-Ireland Special Olympics over the years. Malachy Monaghan, hi Malachy. Claire in Belfast, who I was talking to at the weekend. Those guys, I met them there, like them. Claire was a superstar from the get, absolute superstar. And that was also a great way to meet, because again, Galway, the podiatry school, would bring the 15 or 20 students down to help out with the whole Special Olympics. And I met Malachy, who I gave my first guy I employed one time. Met him there, new graduate, just a couple of weeks out, or he's just about to qualify. Met him. He actually turned out he knew my sister and things. I was on the phone half an hour later after I talked to him, checked in with my sister. Met him at the evening, went for a beer, offered him a job, I think 2 days later.
Yeah. It's a big thing in recruitment. When I talk about business, and we did it with you when we were working with you, you'd say, I want to open this practice. I want to open this practice in this location. Every call, there'll be a new practice location. So, okay, well, that's fantastic. But before we do it, is there a available market? So there's always two factors that drive any business. Is there a available market? So and invariably you'd say, there's no podiatry in the area. There's a lot of patients. And usually there was. So there was an available market. And they'll say, okay, but the other variable we've got to have, is there available labour? So it's okay to have the market and the people that need that service, but is there available labour to deliver that service?
Yeah. And
history, Justin, is littered with health businesses that have got one of those things wrong. They've opened a practice in the middle of the Northern Territory up in Australia where they're desperate for therapists for treatment. So there's a lot of available market. There's people needing help. And the therapists will go up there and they'll open a practice and they'll wonder why in 5 years' time they're chained to the thing because no other therapist wants to go up there and work there. So they've got available market, but there's no labour. So equally, I remember I was at a presentation once, a young guy comes up. I think it was in Sydney. And the guy said, Paul, I want to open 5 practices in the Northern Beaches area of Sydney.
Yep.
That's why it's fantastic. Is there enough market? Oh, yeah. There's plenty of people that need service, yeah. I said, well, how are you going to staff it? Is there available labour supply? Oh, yeah. I said, well, where are you going to get them from? Well, I'll just advertise. I said, but I've got a practice in the Northern Beach City. It's not easy to find therapists. So he's just going because he wanted to do something. And that's a classic business lesson, Justin. You've got to, the market doesn't care what you want to do. The business environment doesn't care what you want to do.
Yeah.
All your job is to find a hungry market, find where there's a need for a service or a product, fill it, and make sure there's enough staff to provide that service, and you've got a business. But don't do it because you fall in love with doing it or being it, which is how most of us start. Just I don't know how you started podiatry, but I wanted to be a physio. I wanted to be a physiotherapist. So I went to uni and became a physio. At no time did I ever even think, is there a market for my services? Can I run a business for myself? I didn't really think about that. I just wanted to be a physio. But that's totally wrong. We're going to our business for the wrong reason. If I could go back in time now, you know this, I'd be a podiatrist or I'd be an optometrist. Probably a podiatrist, probably an optometrist because I'm more clean than fit. I'm not big in feet.
Yeah. Okay.
But I would be an optometrist. And the reason being, and you guys have nailed it, there's a product range. See, there's an orthotic. There's a set of glasses. There's a product. I didn't know that when I started physio. I didn't have an idea about the idea of a business having a product range that could maximise my income, and it was a revelation to me. But
and then
I'd have been something.
Yeah, on the calls recently, we've talked about packages of treatment. So you have your orthotics package with the rehabilitation. So you have your assessment and you package that up. And people love packages. But just before we go on to packages and pricing, and that's been a general recently. No, but we're back to what we talked about. Yes. You said we're always recruiting. We always want to have a stack of CVs ready to go. So I was one of the guys in Dublin that we work with. She's thinking of opening practices at the moment because she's busy and she's very, very good. But I was like, well, let's start advertising now. And she's like, but I don't need anybody now. I'm thinking maybe this side of Christmas, maybe after. And it's like, well, but you need to start now to get them in the pipeline, to get them in the ready, to get them ready to go. And then as you did with me and you do with all your guys as well, you then have your system, you send them your training and you send them everything now so they get up to speed in the next 2-3 months and watch your videos and learn your scripts and everything. So then they're ready to go. And this was also the thing with a colleague in the UK a couple of weeks ago. And you know how I love my newspaper advertising.
You are the superstar.
Absolutely killing it. First ad ever, 137 new patients. Want to know how to do it? Ask me. Lady in England a couple of weeks ago was like, but I can't even open my practice. Why would I want to run a newspaper ad? It's like, because you want to get patients in September and December and next year. Run the ad now, generate the interest, start the relationship, build now for when they're ready to come to see you. Because that's the other thing. Everybody thinks that again, back to the patients just appear in a puff of smoke.
Yeah, and the lifetime value. And you've got to understand too, just as you do well, I talk about, and this comes back to your person wanting to recruit more people. You've also got to understand, I called it Wright his law, just because it's simple. It's a simple analogy that as your number of staff members or team members increases, your number of personal consulting hours must decrease.
Come down, yeah.
As the people who are dying out there in health businesses, in terms of the owners that are stressed, are those that have got a large team or a number of therapists. Yeah. And they're also doing a 40, 50, 60-hour consulting week.
Talking to someone yesterday, he thinks he's a great therapist because he's doing that. He's doing exactly that, and he's booked out 6 weeks in advance himself. Yeah. I'm like, mate, what are you doing?
Yeah, and leading on from that, it's worthwhile doing, guys, is looking at what I called your freedom score. And I do it with all you guys. We talk about freedom score. The freedom score was how many hours per week do you physically have to be at your practice? So So if you're a consulting therapist, if you've got to be there at 8 o'clock to see their first patient, and is it 40, 50, 60? Like what is your freedom score? Because if you're doing 50 hours of face-to-face work, there's just very little petrol left in the tank for all the things that mean running a great business, from marketing, recruitment, sales, systems, processes, family, all the other things you have a business for in the first place. And we see it over and over again, Justin. The people get sucked into the treatment and wanting to be an owner, and then they do the treating and the owning.
But it's back to your point, as you said there, everybody goes into it, that they want to be a physiotherapist, they want to be a podiatrist, osteopath, physical therapist, they want to serve people. That's where they get the buzz from. But if you are working the 60, 70 hours a week and there's no money and profit in the practice, and again, it's been a common theme with me over the last number of weeks, is people need to increase their prices because ethically you need to charge more so you can have that slightly more money in the practice to reinvest in yourself and your family, so then you can better serve your patients. But that seems to be alien to people.
Well, I think, as I said, they go into business for the wrong reasons. I think I was pretty fortunate because I think I learned pretty early, and my good fortune was, I think, that I was involved in the fitness industry. So I did my physio course, but I was lecturing a lot inside the fitness space, and at all the fitness conferences there was a business strand. Yeah. So I would go and I would do my physical lecture, my lecture on weight training or whatever I was doing, and then I'd make my way straight away to the business strand. So I spent 3 days in the business, and the fitness business guys are good, like the sales and the marketing and they're all over it.
All over it.
So I cut my teeth there, and by the time I then really got into starting and launching better in my physio business, I had a very good business background, and I knew what I wanted. I wanted a business that would give me freedom. Otherwise I'd get a job. Otherwise I'd just work as a physio for someone else. But I wanted the freedom of having a business. So I wanted something that would give me time. And a lot of owners don't get that balance right. They just
the business has to work for you. That's the business's job, not you working for it.
Yeah, I'd say to my guys, as I got further and further into this, and I wasn't seeing any, as you know, I wasn't seeing any patients at all. I had 6 practices. I didn't go to any of them. I'd sometimes turn up and collect the money and things, and so I was running them remotely. And I could have made, you know this, I could have made more money if I went and consulted and was there, but I didn't want to because I had kids and I wanted to be at home with the kids, and that was the choice I made.
And that's what you did.
That did me something for it.
I was that guy. I've ran practices really badly in the UK, in Ireland for years. 70, 80 hours a week, Saturdays, late evenings, no money at the end of it. And then I thought, well, I'll tell you what, I won't do another biomechanics course. I'll actually go and learn how to run this bloody business properly. Yeah. And guess what? Changed my life.
And one of the worst things you can do, and I talk about this in my lectures, one of the worst things you can do as a business owner, especially a health business owner, is put a monetary value on your family time. So let's say it's, I don't know, my beautiful daughter Paris, my youngest daughter, she's now 22 or something, but when she was little, time flies. So I could have seen 5 patients in an afternoon and made an extra $500, whatever I could have made. Or I could have gone to her sports event. So And the worst thing you can do, guys, is put a monetary value on the sports event. So you sit there and go, well, if I go to Paris or Sports Carnival, it's going to cost me $500 in lost income. It's just a dumb it's a dumb analysis. You can never put a monetary value on it. And you love the story that I tell about the quality time versus quantity time.
Yeah.
You know, when people say, "Oh, no, but I won't be there for the sports carnival," but after the carnival, I finish my 5 patients. I'll pick up Paris and I'll take her out and I'll have some quality time with her. So you force this poor kid into quality time. Just they might be tired or bored, whatever else, because it fits into your schedule.
Yeah.
Kids don't care about quality time. What works for them is quantity time.
Okay.
So I was fortunate. I ran my practices, so I was home a lot. My daughter's primary school teachers thought I was a drug dealer. Why is he here? Why is he here all the time? What should Dad do? What's he actually do? Because I'm there all the time. But then sometimes I would be home. I remember the time my second youngest. I'm on the couch at the back reading a book or something. This is midday or something, and she comes in the door and she stands there and I said, "You okay, darling?" And she just burst into tears. So, and she's not a crier. Like she's a very solid lady, JJ. And I said, "You okay?" And she'd broken up with a boyfriend or something. And so I'm just cuddling on there. No, it's okay, darling. 5 minutes goes by. I'm okay, Dad. See you later. And she's gone. Now I couldn't script it. You can't script it. You can't say to her at 5. I'll be home at 5 o'clock after these patients. Yeah. Can you break down then for me, and we'll have a special moment. Mm-hmm. And now that the daughters have gone, and my 4 girls, they're all the youngest is 22. That goes so fast. You'll miss it. Don't miss anything. It's just not worth it.
Like that. Yeah. I mean it's just. Yeah, Emer's 19 now, driving, off doing her own thing. I mean, they're just, it's just, and just. And
we're just scrounging for any time as our parents can get with their kids. But don't take it for granted. Like I said, it's gone so quick. The job of the business is to give you the freedom of time, maybe the freedom of money, but definitely the freedom of time. Yeah. To be where you want, when you want. That's the freedom score. If you've got that up in a reasonable level and you're making a reasonable living out of it, then that's all it's about. Yeah,
working the way I did with you, that enabled me. I was able to drop the kids to school every morning. That was my the lunchtime pickups or anything like that. Again, I got down to no consulting, not visiting practice, working remotely. Never missed anything. Always there. Somebody needed picked up or dental appointments. It was done. But
owners think that they have to set the example. So owners in health businesses think they have to be there. They're the first to be there and the last to leave. How can I expect my team to do this when I'm not there? Now, and it's the biggest crock of rubbish. It just doesn't make any sense. I was only ever challenged on it once. I'm in a staff meeting and I turned up for my weekly jaunt. I appeared out of nowhere and I was there in the meeting, and I laid down what was going to happen in the meeting. Then I was heading off again. And one of the new team members said, "Paul, while you're off doing whatever you're doing, what am I going to be doing?" I said, "Well, you'll be doing this." And he said, "Yeah, but what will you be doing?" I said, I'll be doing whatever I want to be doing. I said, "But if you want me to come back, I'll come back, but I'm taking your job. What's it going to be?" It doesn't make any sense. Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's, didn't flip the burgers. That's not where the money is. That's not. You can get people to do that. So the treating is actually the easiest bit. If you are an owner, though, by the way, if you're an owner and you have a special skill set or something that you can bill for a much higher amount, do a bit of that. Yeah, it might be 4 hours a week or 6 or whatever you do, and that's really high income work.
But again, that's back to the early conversation is let's get somebody else to do all the stuff, and then it gives you the opportunities to work on the things that actually are really going to make the difference in your business and your practice with your family. Not wasting your time on the stuff that isn't, it's essential, but somebody else can do it. You don't need to be doing it. That's a good one.
Successful people spend time to save money. You love my towel story. I washed the towels in the practices for years. Yeah, I don't know why.
Stacked in the back of the car like a big Chinese laundry van.
I had this. I had this Nissan 300ZX sports car. So I drive from Newcastle down to Sydney around, and I do the lap of the practices. So I pick up the towel. So here I am, the $1 million health professional, and I wasn't consulting. So I was away. That was way below my wage, my value, but I'm still picking up the towels, Justin. And I've got the 300ZX stacked full of towels, driving it back the freeway to Newcastle. And the story, and Helen says, well, at least you're safe. So if something happens, like I'm covered in towels, nothing's going to happen. I've got this airbag around me. But it took me a long time to get rid of the towels. And it was, at the end of it, it might have cost us $1,000 a month or something. But I have photos of me washing towels on Christmas Day at my home because I was getting them ready for the next. What was I doing? Like low. But that happens, Justin, when you start doing something and you put the monetary value on getting rid of it. You think, well, I'll be doing that for a while, but if I keep doing that, I'll save $200 a week.
Yeah, it's nuts. And, I think this is also the seems to be a mindset now. Well, in general, again, is the overthinking things. Because my thing is, well, you started that with me. When are we putting up our prices? No posters up in the waiting room, no big ones. The prices are going up tomorrow. And that's what we're trying to tell people. How do you do that? You just walk in tomorrow and this is it. The prices are up $30 today. No, and people overthink it. And when they overthink it, they don't ever do it.
Yeah, I remember that I told you about a sports doctor guy. One of my best mates is one of Australia's leading sports physicians, and he was the Wallabies. He's the Wallabies sports doctor. He's a top level guy. And I was talking to him at his prices, and he said, "It's funny you should say that, Righty." He said, "I'm in a consult not that long ago, and the guy was there, and an executive guy was his patient, and like a really top level executive was his patient, and JMO give him a great consultation." The guy goes out to pay, and the admin person says how much, and he pays. It's $100, whatever it was, and the guy says $100. Is
that it?
Paid the money, and he said, "Is Michael still free?" So he turns around, and he said, "I'll just knock." He knocks on the door, and Michael's there, and he goes, "Excuse me, Michael, I've just paid your bill. It was $100, mate. That's a joke. You're worth twice that amount. That was ridiculous." And this is the patient saying him, and he walks off. And my mate's a pretty instinctive sort of guy. He's sitting there, goes, "All right." So he charges out to his admin team, "Mary, prices are going up right now." And he's got a waiting room full of people. And she's saying, when do we put them up? And they're all the people in the waiting room look at each other. He says, "Right away, right now." And they're saying, "Do it tomorrow. Do it tomorrow." He said, "No, but straight away." And they still stayed. No one left. It happens all the time in healthcare. But he learned a harsh lesson. People say when you put your prices up, they say, what happens if you put your prices up and no one really says anything? You put your price up and no one really says anything. Well,
put them up again.
Put them up again. You obviously didn't put them up high enough. You haven't. Yeah. Most health professionals have no idea where that value point is. They have no idea. Where do you set your prices anyway? You ring around, you see what is everyone else charging. Majority is always wrong. Put them up.
Yeah, this was the thing on the call with a couple of Spanish podiatrists again. Hi, Jose, and hi, Eugene. They were, I said, beside your clinic, Eugene, the solicitor next door, he charges the same as he does the solicitor in Sydney near you, Paul, and in the same in Dublin or in Belfast. I had my car service yesterday. The garage in Sydney charges the same price for the services they did for me yesterday as they did in Spain, as they did in New York, as they did in Toronto. The PlayStation that Eugene was going to buy, it costs the same right around the world. Yeah, but that's what they're charging nowhere near the prices in Spain than we're charging it for consultations all around in different countries. And so, what is it?
People think, where do you get your prices from? So we'll say, we'll go off our association's recommendations. Well, the last thing we'll do is go off your association recommendations. And I learned one of my things early days. Never get into a business where someone else can control your fees. Mm-hmm. I learned that years ago. Never get into a business where someone else can control your fees. And interesting enough, the moment the health funds got involved in remember the high caps machine? You swipe, we've in Australia, you swipe the card and you get a rebate from your health fund and you pay the gap. Like that was a nightmare, because as soon as that happened, you became a collector for the health funds. So it was all about fees and everything else. It focused on price, it focused on the gap, it focused on money. You want to stop it focusing on money and start focusing on the service you deliver and the value you give. Yep. People aren't price sensitive, they're value sensitive. Yep. They're only price sensitive if there's no differentiation between you and everyone else.
Yeah.
If you're the same as everyone else, they're not going to be.
As we're talking about this, people, again, because, I mean, see, what comes out of my mouth now is what Paul's taught me over the number of years. I mean, I just walk like him, talk like him. People set their prices, they open up a new clinic or a new graduate or go to a new area and they do the ring around. Yeah. And they put their prices in the middle somewhere. Somebody's $60, somebody's $65, and somebody's $66. We'll charge 65 like everybody else. And then, as you say, there's no differentiation between you. So your vanilla is the same. Everyone, and again, now, if you don't think patients are going to be doing the ring around to find out, that's what they do. Hello, how much is it? Hello, how much is it? And if you're the same price, there's no differentiation.
Well, that then comes back to the training.
We're $50 more than everybody else. Shit, he's doing something different. What's he doing?
But that comes back to how you package your service. And you talked about packages from what you said in the sessions before.
Yeah.
What do you call it? It's the running program. It's the run a 3-hour marathon program. It's the outcome program.
It's to get the 5K park run program.
Yeah. And by the way, we're the only podiatry practice in the UK that offer that program. You know, it's the podiatry, i.e. 5K run program. We're the only podiatrist in Ireland that do that program.
It's a chiropractic. It's a chiropractic. Better back. Program. It's that's what people want. And again, back to that ring around and things. People don't buy the cheapest phone, the cheapest car, the cheapest holiday. When they go and look and make the decisions, they buy what they perceive is giving them the best value.
Yeah. And if you get that phone call, Justin, if you ring, you can always tell who's done some decent business coaching when you ring those practices. I'm looking for a podiatrist. Do you mind me asking how much you charge? What are the words, Justin? What we teach you?
Why? What have you done?
What have you done? Why? What have you done, Justin? How much has that made us over the years? Why? What have you done?
You talk about red, green, brain.
The brain. Steve Jensen taught me years ago the red and green brain conversation. Like that, and your admin team, and this comes back to your training. If you ring your practice and you say, and you put a voice on, because we're good with voices. So I'm just looking for a podiatrist in Ireland. Can you mind telling me how much that is for a consultation? And if they answer how was that? And if they answer I'm pretty good. And if they answer the question, it's $60, but if you bring your card in, it'll be this. If they go into that spiel, there's no training happening in that business. You've just lost the lead.
The worst one ever, sitting in one of the chiropractors down in Dublin on the In Practice now. I was sitting waiting to chat. We shared clinical space, so I was down to meet the guy. Ring, 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 ring. Hello. This is a chiropractic office now. No physiotherapist here. No. Okay, bye-bye.
Yeah. How much does it cost to get the phone to ring?
If that conversation had been, why, what have you done?
What have you done?
I've hurt my back. All right.
If you do nothing else from today's discussion from Justin and I,
5 words.
And I teach my clients to get their admin team, and they have to ring up. They have to continually ring their practice. And my guys would get sick of me because
secret shopper.
I was a secret shopper, so I'd ring up all the time, and I'd get into the practice when I went there once a week, and they'd say, "Was that you yesterday? Were you Mr. Johnson yesterday?" Mm-hmm. So they never knew if it was going to be me or not. But I love that because that means they're on their toes all the time. And for you guys, people aren't ringing for an answer to that question. So I'm not ringing to ask you the price. It's just what we're conditioned to ask for.
It's the only question they know how to ask. Yeah. They don't know how to ask anything else.
It's a red brain question. I think about all the questions. Are you open on Saturdays? Do you have a physio? How much do you charge? Are you open late? That's no one without the person is not asking that question. That's not the question they're asking. That's just the first thing they do. They don't want to know that. They're only asking one question. The question is, can you help me? That's the real question. But they just don't ask with that. They just want to find out something to get the conversation rolling.
Yeah.
And your admin team, God bless them, they're hearing the red brain question, and they feel that, and the red brain being the direct brain that answers the question, this factual brain, because people don't buy on a direct brain. They'll buy emotionally, they'll justify logically. But they'll hear that, are you open Saturdays? Oh no, we're not open Saturdays. And they'll think they've done their job. They'll think, well, I've done my job because I've answered the question.
It's like Sarah in Streatham. All I trained her to do was book appointments. That was her job. Yeah. Like the lady in the chiropractor practice. All her job was to book chiropractor appointments.
Yeah.
When somebody wanted a physio. Yeah.
We've got practices that are combinations. Physio, chiros in the same practice, podiatry, physios, and they don't differentiate on their service. The person doesn't care if you're a physio, a chiro, an osteopath, a pipe cleaner. They don't care what you are. They want to know, can you help them? Yep. And if you can help them, then they'll book in for you. And especially if the admin's good, I'll book in with Justin. He's sensational. He worked on my back last week and he's a genius. Like they might have never, they don't know who that admin person is from a bar of soap, but that third party recommendation, he's excellent with these. What have you done, Mr. Johnson? Oh, that's not good.
Those 5 words just aren't for your admin from desk team. Those are for clinicians as well. What have you done? Why? Tell me more. What more have you done?
Tell me more. What have you done? Tell me what have you done? What have you done, Justin? Well, that's no good. Let's get you organised. I've got a 2 or a 2:30. Which one suits you best? Let's get you in for that. It's not if, it's when.
And that's also as well. We need to make people to make a choice, and which is where packages come in. And it's like, and if anybody doesn't understand about making a choice, if you have young kids, and we've all had young kids, right? And you go down and it's breakfast time in the morning, and if you ask the kids, what do you want for breakfast? Oh dear. They don't know. If it's like, Charlie, what do you want? Are we having toast today or eggs today? We'll have eggs. Thanks very much. So back into packages. Do you want the Fantastic Foot 5K package? Or do you want the Fantastic Foot 5K package with the pair of orthotics? I'll have the one with the orthotics, please, Paul. Thanks.
People get and so many health professionals get worried about this, and they think, gee, that's salesy, and they hate the idea and we've been frustrated. They hate the idea that it's salesy. But
that's why the person is sitting in front of you with 6 years of knee pain, because they didn't want to make a decision. They didn't know how to talk. They didn't know how to ask for help. They didn't make a decision to do something. You need to everybody's sitting listening to me and you and everybody else studying about it for the last 10 weeks in terms of putting your prices up. Yeah. They're sitting there and they haven't made the decision yet. People are shit at making decisions.
People say too, they say, and you hear this from therapists, when I put, let's say, the admin script, what have you done, Mr. Johnson? And if all you do today, guys, if you get no matter what the question is on the phone, all they say is, well, what have you done, Mr. Johnson? Why, what have you done? If that's all they said, that's fantastic. But what they're really got to get their head around is that's a script, yes, that it is a script. But a script is just a structured conversation that gets to an outcome. So
but you've already got one. You've got everybody, if you're a couple of years in practice, you've got the things that you say to the patient and you cover all the points in the conversation and that's it. And you do it normally. A script is you just either record, you would say write it down before. Just take your phone out, stick it in the corner, do ask the patient's permission and just record it. And then, get the guy on Upwork to subscribe it afterwards. And it's also good for yourself because if you forget a point that you wanted to get across to the patient, you can pick yourself up on that and read, and that's all a script is. As you said, it's a structured conversation. People think scripts again are, that's a little bit. Yeah. But imagine that patient, I've phoned patients after the consultation go, actually, I meant to say that you need to do this.
Yeah. But
because I missed it out in the consultation. So
some of our scripts are so bad that we've already got them. My worst one. Did I ever tell you my worst script? I used to say this when I was treating patients in my early days. if they're doing a lunge, and I do nowadays, you do your own stick figure.
Stick man,
So I'll show you a stick figure, Mrs. Johnson. Here's how you do it. And I had a patient here one day. I'm going, here's the diagram. So I drew the head, and then the pelvis, and then I had the knees, and I said, and this when I got to the head, I put a nose on it, and I used to just routinely say, "Oh no, that's not indication of the size of your nose, Mrs. Johnson. Just show which way you're pointing." I looked up at Mrs. Johnson. She had a nose like you'd never seen before. It was. I didn't even notice. And I just this was a script that I said for years and years. This isn't an indication of the size of your nose, but it just shows which way you point. And there's a script I never used again. So we've all got them. We've all got scripts. Just get better ones. And one of the best things you can do is actually just, as you said, listen. Just sit there at admin listening. My favourite one. I went to one of my practices once. And my admin team hated the days I was there, so they really hated it when I was there. But they're there at the admin, and I'd be sitting out the desk behind them, just doing some other work. The phone rings, and she goes, "Oh no, he's not available today." "Oh, okay. Thanks for calling." That was the conversation. And I'm hearing the conversation, and I'm sitting there thinking, "Well, okay, that wasn't great. We need to train her in this." And just as I'm about to go up, her head appears around the corner, and she says, "Wasn't very good, was it?" I said, "No, it wasn't ideal. Maybe we can work on that a bit better. What can we say instead of that?" But I love the fact that she knew that it could have been better, and she came to me to talk about it. Mm-hmm. Whereas too many people just think that's there's more of phone calls where that came from. That's easy. Yeah. I remember sitting in a doctor's office and the phone rang, and this person just picked it up and put it back down again because they were too busy to answer it. It's just this business. Oh, I nearly fell out on the chair.
Yeah. And again, of course, like if you are running, 5, 6, 7 practices like we were, you need to be checking homework and checking that things are being done and checking that stuff has been boxes being ticked and reordering is being done and systems are being followed, because you can't run it like that. Again, Ray Crockett doesn't want to have to go to Sydney when he was over to check whether they're flipping the burgers properly. It's in the handbook.
Everything's got to be a system. You can't rely on people. You've got to rely on
again, this is alien. This is, well, we won't mention airline companies. If you're going to Disney, if you're going to go to the Hilton hotels, if you're going to go to where the garage franchise, they have systems and books and everything, and it's all done all around the world the same, and this is what we say when blah 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 blah. It's all written down in black and white. Just learn it and say it. Makes it a lot easier for people, because when they come to work for you, because this is what my first job in a health service. I think the guy who was doing the induction was a little bit rushed. He had another meeting to go to. It was like, here's the clinic, here's the dressings, here's your list, see ya. That was it. Yeah, I didn't know. There was one of the leading educators in Australia. I know he would spend 2 months with his team before he let them loose on a patient. Yeah, we used to do 4 weeks, 4 weeks minimum. But again, it depends on the training. But the bottom line for all of this, guys, for you guys listening out there at the moment watching this, you've got to have you can get away without systems if you've got superstars. So if your team is, if your front desk person is a superstar, if your therapists are superstars, if they can do most things very well. They all think they're superstars themselves. I was, but I knew I was a superstar from the get-go. But unless that's you're not going to have a team full of superstars. You're going to have people who are good workers, but they need structure to make them better. As E-Myth Michael Gerber says, you have to develop systems so you leverage ordinary people with great systems. Because you won't keep the superstar for long. They're going to be doing their own thing. Imagine how good it could be if you could make the superstar, a stratosphere star. I mean, just give them the structure and just watch them go. Some of the guys, that girl Claire, who met in the Special Olympics, she just rocketed, mate. Rocketed. She's a superstar. Hi, Claire. And when available labour is a bit skinny. I had lots of superstars. Yeah. Joe Egan, Malachy Monaghan, Tommy Farrell, who has my practices. Hi, Tommy. Fighting the good fight in Ireland. It's these guys are superstars. All they needed was a little bit of polishing. They had all the qualifications. They had all the skills. A little polish and Way you go.
That's one of the problems of opening a very highly specialised practice as well. Like you see it a lot in physio with pelvic floor practices or like certain very high niche. Now, there's a lot of demand for it. It's just a classic problem. There's a lot of demand. There's a lot of market for it, but it's hard to find the therapy staff to do it if it's so highly specialised. So then your business model is going to be flawed early. So there's... Yeah,
I'm worried now that I've left a lot of people out. I went through the other day. I had a list of who had actually taken and trained and things. There were like 18 podiatrists, and they've all got, the majority have all gone on now to open their very own successful private practices. So like Mark Ryan, all the guys. I mean, so which is good to see. Because I would have loved to have that when I was just starting out. Because I say it took me 15 years to. I'm not allowed to curse anymore, apparently.
We did it, but we did that as a marketing.
15 years to figure this out.
I set up Get Active Physio when I had the Get Active Physio, and you know, we recruited superstars because they wanted to come to my business to learn how to run a great business. I knew they were going to go somewhere else and start their own practice. I wasn't interested in partnerships. I wasn't interested in franchise. So maybe if I'd have been smart, I would have done that. But I knew they were going to do it, but I was going to make a lot of money out of them while they were there, and they were going to get open their own practices, and they did, and they're great. I see them today very proud of what they've all done.
Yeah.
You can't sit there and think, well, what if they open up the road? Well, good on them. I'll make a lot of money out of them while they're with me.
Yep.
I'll make sure I look after my database and I nurture them and they're part of my herd. And if this person goes up the road, they knock themselves out.
Yeah. But no, the one person. Well, again, this was down to me. The one person who I had to have the sorry, it's not working out conversation after 3 weeks was an 8-year qualified therapist.
Yeah,
wanted to transition into more MSK foot mobilization, which we specialised in Ireland. Treatment without orthotics, fix your foot pain without orthotics. That's what she wanted to do. And, you know, when we did have the chat with her when we first came to see her, it was like, you know what, you haven't really been doing a lot of this now, so why all of a sudden? And, you know, anyway, 3 weeks after, so 4 weeks training, 3 weeks in, it was like...
I suppose it lasted 3 weeks. High, slow, fire, fast. Surprised it lasted 3 weeks.
You're done, mate. Yeah, you're done. And again, but I wouldn't have known that unless I would have had your. When Paul has, when we first started working, we were working off Excel sheets. But you've transitioned that into your unbelievable, it'd be effective 1 minute practice, because you got to know your numbers, your patient value average, your retention, your when we're on our call tonight, again, my mastermind call that you do every Wednesday with the guys. Last week we started off. A couple of weeks ago it was packages and prices. Last week it was the start of the numbers. You got to know your numbers. Tell us all about numbers, Paul.
Well, 1 minute practice, you know, we started, as you said, with Excel spreadsheets, and it drove me crazy the number of times I'd say to guys like you, send me your new patient register.
You all used to check my homework, and it was always the thing that you hadn't done, or you hadn't got your eye on, that you would all of a sudden go, oh, we're going to check this today. It was like, oh shit, man.
So what happened? What eventually happened, Justin? So I had all these spreadsheets. We had a new patient register where we control the systems. We had marketing plans, daily data entry, we had checklists, we had KPIs, P&Ls. So all this was all over the place. And some of our software systems had it, like the different platforms, and they're fantastic. You've got to have a platform for that.
Yeah.
But I wanted something that gave me a measurement of the processes. Were the steps being followed? Was the P&L in the way we analysed it okay? Were the checklist done?
Yeah.
Was there a way to track the leads? People who haven't actually come in.
Was the follow-up call made? Was the follow-up referral letter done?
Yeah, the things that you don't really have.
If you were doing on your own in the practice, that you would be doing them yourself, and you'd know you have to do them. Yeah. But if you've got dozens of people working for you, you got to keep track of things.
So I got together with a mate of mine in the tech space, and we created a platform for it. We created 1minutepractice.com. which is an online business management portal for health professionals, health businesses. It's not a practice management software system, because you still need your book. We don't worry about the diary. We don't worry about billings in terms of the invoices. We don't worry about clinical notes. That's all your EMR thing. But in terms of the down and dirty numbers in the business, the steps and processes, did they get a treatment plan? How many recommendations were done? Were the orthotics scanned for?
What was the 4-month follow-up? So, as we talked about last week, conversion. See, I'll put people off conversion. Did somebody who came to see you for your first appointment and you recommended a series of treatments? Well, first of all, did they embark on the treatment? And then if you recommended, I want to see you twice a week for a month, and then we'll review. And then, did they actually complete that plan of care, or did they complete that journey? And the great thing about the 1 minute practice is it's pretty much instant. It's color coded. You can see where you are. So
we used to do it. I do it with my clients now. So every client I work with one-on-one, I'll log in as I did with you. I'd log in before the call, and say, well, it's 1 minute practice, and I could log in a minute before our call, and I'd go, what happened with Brian with Mrs. Johnson yesterday? What's the deal with this? Where's that? How come what happened to that follow-up phone call? Why wasn't? And I could see it from the other side of the world instantly. Now, if you're going to be in your practice all the time, you probably don't need that because you're there all the time anyway. But if you want to run it like I was from remotely and see that it's working whether you're there or not, you want to open another practice, you got to have a platform like this in place. So that's where 1 minute practice came from. And the other thing, and you were big on this, Justin, when we started working together, like me, I had multiple practices, and it was only when I really did a better P&L analysis across each of them that I knew which ones were profitable and which ones weren't. And that happens if you expand too quick and you don't know your numbers well enough. So we put a very detailed profit and loss, but it's not a zero or MYOB profit and loss. It's down and dirty, just the business expenses P&L.
The person who's working 80 hours a week and has no time to do anything else, they think they're making low. They think they're doing well, but they've got no money in the bank. They can't take holidays. They can't go to
the P&L they get from their accountant is not useful for them, if assuming they even get one.
That's looking in the rear view mirror, something that happened 6 months ago or a year ago. We need to know what's happening today and in the future, what's coming up in the thing. And that was a good thing with yesterday. Good thing about packages of treatment is they really help cash flow because they're paid for today on the treatments that you're going to be giving in the next 2-3 months. Really, really helps cash flow in business.
Yeah, actually, if you want to check out, I did a webinar on it. How to know your P&L in 10 minutes a month was the presentation. Just go to, I think if I may give you the URL, go to healthbusinessprofits.com, and there's a webinars tab. Yeah, it's one of the presentations there. You can get it instantly. It's free. How to know your P&L in 10 minutes a month. And it's just it lays out the P&L analysis for you.
Because accountants, big stack of files into the accountant, meet him once a year when he's done the books and he's given you the $3,000 bill. And he has a chat and he goes, well, the tax bill's okay, so you must be doing something. And then, of course, you wouldn't have any money to pay the tax bill and da-da-da-da-da-da. I mean, so that's looking in the rearview mirror. He's done all the accounts for last year until last March in Ireland, I think it was. And this year, you're sitting in an office talking to him in July or August when he's looking for you to pay the bill. And you're talking about things that happened 18 months ago. Shit, you need to know what's happening 18 hours ago. And
my best clients are those that they can't wait for the end of the month because they look at their bank statement. You're all right. They look at their bank statement and look at their credit card a few days after the end of the month. In 10 minutes, they put their numbers in and then they know their P&L for the last month. They know about their staffing levels. Are they over admin? Do they have too much therapy staff? Is their rent too high? Where are the expenses out of control? You've got to see these things.
All about. I think it's like when you get when the guys are 80% busy, that's the time to get those CVs out and get that guy in and they're ready to go. All those sort of things. You keep a Let's talk about just fee share. Everybody does. The standard across the industry is 50%. Are you having a laugh, mate? You see how much costs I have. Used to one practice. We never knew one practice. It was like €3,200 to turn the key in the door on the first Monday of the month.
Yeah.
Right.
You got to know your numbers. You get it. That's the other thing that exposed owners during COVID. Do they know the numbers well enough? Do they know what their break even is? What's their new break even now? Like this is
what's your patient acquisition cost. So again, when they appear in the puff of smoke in your practice, how much did it cost to get them there? I don't know.
So you got to know your numbers. So that's really where, and that's where 1 minute practice came from. I wanted a platform in one place that I could log in, and my clients can do it, and they
remotely
can see it in real time. That's
when you're when you're down the surf club, or when you're in the thing, or when somebody's like off skiing, or when I'm in Ibiza. That was a conversation I used to have when I went away. Was when the fire brigade arrive and they're putting out the fire in the practice, then give me a ring. But otherwise, on holiday, I don't want to know, mate.
Yeah, I'm not going to do anything about it. I just want to call my insurer. What am I going to do?
We got to the stage. I had 8 weeks holiday a year. That was it. It was off every 3 or 4 weeks plus
and
Christmas.
I think that's one of the big things too.
When I do my sailing, but I take another 6 weeks off. I had 14 weeks holiday. Came back, there was money in the bank. Everything was running. But it was,
and we're so, because of our P&Ls, the way we do it, we're so conditioned in healthcare to trading time for dollars. So we think that if we're not, and it's a dentist expression, if we're not drilling, we're not billing. That's dumb logic. There's a certain amount of consult, certain amount of time. You've got to know your numbers better than that. What's your profit if you don't consult? That's where the opportunity is, and you've got to, and that's why the P&L inside 1 minute practice, it's a different analysis. It tells you whether you are profitable or not, whether you're there or not, and what's the sweet spot for you with profitability and lifestyle. Otherwise, your accountant's going to give you a P&L that'll reduce your tax, and who knows what all. It's a different analysis.
Yeah, because that's it again. People have been, I was at the start of this, it was like, let's not be in the big rush back to where you were, what you were doing before. What's this huge rush back? This is a time for reevaluation to take the time and smell the, hay, freshly cut grass or whatever you're doing when the teenager's out there now. Barney, I can hear Rev. He's oiling up. He's ready to go to cut the grass soon. So he's, it's this is it. Yeah, and I think I've laboured the point enough over the last number of calls.
I hope it was useful for you, Jess. I hope you got what you want. I didn't know where this was going to go. I thought this is Justin Blake. This could go anywhere.
Well, see, my friend Mark Rafferty, he's like, when I put again, this is nothing new. I give a talk in 3 years ago, or nearly 3 years ago, in Sligo in the conference room. And this was my message then. People don't know what you do, so you need to start talking to them slightly differently, words in a slightly different way. They don't care about the qualification. They want the outcome. They want the value. They don't want the cheapest thing, especially now. Who wants to skip? I've just had my hip done. I didn't say to the guy, can you do me a cheaper deal, mate? Yeah. Can I get the half price hip replacement? I didn't have that conversation. People don't, especially now. Mary does not want to skimp on her health.
No.
So the guy who does want to negotiate, and I can get it $2 cheaper down the street. Off you go, mate. Here's a list of our cheaper alternatives. See ya. You don't want that person in your practice. But also, it was back to the, I forgot my point now. It was back to the conversation. I've been talking about this for 3 years. Put your prices up. Because then you have the slightly more, just put it up a $5. You see 10 patients today, that's an extra 50. Yeah. That's 250 at the end of the week. It's 1,000 at the end of the month. Podiatrists are actually one of the slowest across professions. They're very reluctant to price increase. They're hard work. Mark's like, you're still talking about it 3 years later. I'm like, that's because they haven't put their prices up. I keep telling them, but they haven't done it yet because they want to make a decision. Oh, I don't want to, and the thing. And I keep saying, when your practice goes bust, the practices that are going bust in Dublin aren't able to reopen. None of the patients are phoning them up going, can I help you? And can I give you some money? And I want, they're not. They're off to some other place. They don't care.
I got a race, Justin. I hope this was useful for you. I hope we didn't bore too much with our repartee.
It will be fantastic as ever, Paul. And again, just tell people where they can find you, Paul.
Well, probably the best thing, mate. They can get a copy of the webinar for a start if they go to healthbusinessprofits.com is my main page. They'll see a webinars tab there. Certainly check out the P&L in 10 minutes a month presentation. But I think if you guys are watching, I actually wrote the book, How to Run a 1 Minute Practice. So I think, do you want me to give the link and the code now, or do you want to put it in and send it to you guys?
I'll put it into my guys groups and stuff, and we'll be able to put them in touch.
Now, there are some delays on postage at the moment, but we do a really good lead off on that. It's only $5, $4.95. We'll post a copy out for you. Just beware the post is out of Australia because of COVID. Stuff's a bit slack at the moment, but you will get a link straight away to a download of the PDF version. You get other resources and other things in there, and it all goes through the whole action plan, new patient register, P&L. It lays the whole plan out for you. So for $4.95, get your hands on it.
It's a plug and play. And again, when I'm on my mastermind call this evening, tomorrow evening with my guys, guess what? I've read 3 or 4 pages of that, and that's what I talk about.
So just go to 1minutepractice.com/book sales is the link to go to. And I did create 2 codes, Justin. If you put in the code Justin OS, so if they go to 1minutepractice.com/book sales, Justin OS,
yes,
is the international version. So anyone that's not Australian, just use that. It'll reduce the price down to $4.95.
Yep.
Any Australian people watching this, the code is Justin OZ, no spaces, and that's for Australians. And either way, put those codes in, and you'll get a reduction. It'll go down to $4.95, no matter where you are in the world. And but just be aware that post is out of Australia is a bit slow, but you will get a link.
As you say,
all the resources.
version as well. Some people like to read online. Some people like to read. They're sitting in the garden, watching the teenager cut the grass, and but the people are back making them, allowing them to be able to have that time. I mean, that's what it's all about. The practice has got to work for you. It's got to give you the lifestyle that you want. And when I realized that I was actually running a business, it changed my life.
That's a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. That's the definition. If you haven't got that, you're working for it.
Mm-hmm. Righty as ever.
You're a champion, Blakey. I love what's going on over there, mate. You're doing some great stuff.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure again. Paul, I say, 2000. Well, I think I found you before 2013. But again, it took me a year or two to make a decision of coming to do business with you. That's it. People just don't know. Yeah. So, never, Paul. Talk soon.
Good on you, mate. Nice to see you. Stay safe.
Thanks very much, everybody, for watching again. Friday, going to be an absolute treat. My French ski guy, Bernard Chesneau. Oh, man, it's going to be unbelievable. He's crazy as a box of frogs. But, again, another person who completely changed my career. Saw him on a half an hour on a conference. I was rushing out of Birmingham, emailed him the next week, all about ski alignment, sports-specific mechanics to skiing. And again, then I went and give me a whole different aspect to my career. So I can't wait. Friday, I can't remember the time, but we'll tell you all about it. So, and anybody wants to contact me is Justin at Justin Blake Media, all the social platforms. Barney's itching to get at the mowing the lawn. So, and Charlie wants to get back on Fortnite. So, and I'm using all their broadband. So, thanks very much, everybody. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.